Things that cry.
Like an original lifeblood, stolen and taken. Strange like being filtered and half wrong all the time. Like the worst things that cry.
Drops of silver and atom, knowing this is full of certain quality. The dark
Human quarrel within itself.
like an unnatural process of drawing out peace.
Things that cry,
Things that cry.
culpable and messy.
Don't think I'll ever be warm again.
Just a head full of steel wool and white noise. Sticks my head to my skin. Bloated flailing. Corrosive blood in my system. There is no mysticism or startling quality. Just a human quarrel within itself. Things that cry.
A dark blue tingle in my hands. A dark blue tingle in my hands. A dark blue tingle in my hands.
Like an unnatural process. Steel strength.
Innocent. Don't think I'll ever be warm again. Warm again. Warm again. Warm again. Warm again. Warm again. Search my age 27.
beacon. Somewhere my hand.
Cover messy.
Head full of steel wool and white noise.
Sticks my hair to my skin.
Bloated flailing. No mysticism. Starting quality.
Human quarrel within itself.
Dark blue tingling in my hand.
Things that cry.
Things that cry.
Just bring the lights up, just for a second or two. Just sit back down again, guys. That was Things That Cry, devised and performed by the HND2 Performance Technology class. What I'm going to do now is just for 15 minutes or so, let us explain a little bit about it, a little bit of show and tell as to what we're actually using in the performance. I know a lot of people are busy doing other things. If anyone wants to slip out and miss this part of the performance, I won't be offended. So I just want to go around and give everyone here an opportunity to explain a little bit about what we were doing in this piece. I'm actually going to start with Chris, who's going to tell us a little bit about Things That Cry.
Last year, the PerfTech class did Things That Cry, and
No, Fly was last
Things
year.
That Fly was last year, sorry. And we had a discussion about that and thought the thing that was wrong was it didn't have a real human element that you could relate to, so we changed it to Silent Folk will be better, Things That Cry. So we came up with Things That Cry. From that, I wrote the this text that the two ladies are reading out.
That's good. Let's move on from there. That's
Okay.
good. So that's there. So let's move on to this text. This thing which is being read out here by Stacey and Lisa, which are kind of rehearsed a way of doing it, is then being fed to Rocío, who is doing what?
And through the computer what I'm doing is distortion in the voice. So you have noticed how the voice went up in pitch and then down, and then adding granular things and distortion.
Well, I ask you to explain in public what granular synthesis is. Okay, you can look that one up in the book, granular synthesis. And the program, the software we're using there is?
Max MSP.
Max MSP. Moving on to Saiwa, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you were doing there?
I put the English vowel and the consonant on the sampler, in the Logic Pro 7, and then trying to prevent people talking and singing, trying to do something like that.
Can we get that up actually so we can hear this one time? Simon, can you bring that up?
I can change the pitch as well. Okay.
So say Things That Cry for us one time.
It's hard. That's it.
It's kind of like, it's a really bad, wrong attempt at trying to get a computer to speak by the most convoluted and ridiculous way possible. And the software we're using there is Logic.
Logic Pro 7.
Logic Pro 7, yeah, okay. Moving around, I'm going to come back to this. What do we have here, Barry? What are you up to there?
Basically, I've got a patch in a program called Max MSP where I'm feeding my guitar signal in through a multi-effects unit. So I've got delay and distortion effects running through this audio interface into Max MSP. And then I'm controlling the values of buffer size, which is basically the playback quality, the playback speed, the amount of feedback on it, and I've got the reverse function on too. So basically, to dumb all that down, I'm making crazy noises with a guitar. the sort of left up to random chance, quite a lot of the patches as well. And just came out with some crazy noise.
Good, great, excellent. Aidan?
Okay, what I'm wearing in my pocket here is a little radio signal from the Twin Grammar, which is this thing right here. It's picked up here. And in my hands, you can see I was waving my hands and hitting my fingers on these little things here. These are motion sensors, so they can either be triggered by hitting it or doing that. And what we simply did was to create a drum beat. We hooked it up to the Max MSP, and we had two samples going on it. One, which was the kick sound, and the other, which was the snare sound. And this created a quite messy and not that controlled beat, which would then be answered by the techno loop.
Yeah, great, thanks. The crude gamma over there in Max MSP is kind of at the heart of what we probably want to do with this class. The idea being that you can have 16 channels of sensors connected to someone's body, to a dancer or to some performer, and then any movement which they make can potentially be, by using Max MSP, transformed into anything. Sound, video, and there's a lot further we could go in this. It was tricky to get going. At one point we had a couple of drum things, and we had them on Aidan's ears, and we had some ways he was going to drum on his head. But to get something that actually practically worked, this was the closest we got. And then we couldn't actually get it so it would keep a pulse. So we actually dropped in the techno loop instead to have the pulse. Robert was playing piano. Thank you. Oh, and of course, Mark, tell us about this thing here.
Okay. I couldn't get it together with Max MSP, and I think I'm just too old for it. So I went retro. We were talking about ice came up in a conversation when we were talking about doing this performance. And so ice and heat and how we would do something with it. So went for an oscillator. So I built an oscillator, cut the parts out of an electronics store, a little speaker. Initially hooked up to just a variable resistor to change the pitch, but because we're going with ice and heat, had to hook it up to a thermistor, which is just that little bead there, and it reacts to heat and ice. When the heat changes, the resistance changes, and then the pitch changes. Quite well.
Yeah, fine. Okay, great. That's about it. Any questions? No, good, right, fine. And anyone that wants to do performance technology with me this year is going into HND second year. This is the kind of thing it's